The 2024 Biel Chess Festival started a few days ago and I love this tournament. Mainly because it has top players playing Chess960 and that is a guarantee of crazy stuff happening over the board. But Chess960 is just the starting point of this historical tournament that's spanning over a couple of weeks, featuring great players facing each other on classic, blitz, and rapid games. I'm JonJon, your host, and boy, I have a roller coaster match to show you guys today. Did I sound nasal? I feel like, nah, I don't think so. The bilingual lakeside Swiss city of two names, Biel in German or Bian in French, sorry for my horrible pronunciation by the way, has been hosting top-level chess tournaments for over half a century, with the main event won by world champions like Anatoly Karpov and Magnus Carlsen. And this year's field of players is started by the young Indian genius Praggnanandhaa, alongside a select group of super grandmasters, all with peak rating above 2700. Actually, I lied. There is one player in the field that does not have a peak rating of 2700, and it's this guy here, Grandmaster Abhimanyu Mishra, who holds the record for becoming the youngest grandmaster of all time, and it's still only 15 years old. Of course, until Faustino Oro comes and snap that record in a year or two. Even though this tournament is full of history and tradition, the organizers have focused on innovation, creating a triathlon of sorts, where players play 3 different types of chess during the event. They compete at 3 different time controls, with different points for a win, draw, or loss. They first play a round robin of 15-minute rapid games, in which a win earns 2 points and a draw 1 point. Then another round robin of classical games with 120 minutes for the first 40 moves. And in this format, a win earns 4 points and a draw only 1.5. And finally, a double round robin of 3 minutes blitz games, where a win earns 1 point and a draw half a point. It's really cool to see that in classical games, a win earns 4 points, while a draw only 1.5. This will drastically encourage players to risk themselves into a win. And the player with the most amount of points at the end is the super champion. But the coolest part, in my opinion, is that since players can time points by the end of the event, before the tournament even started, they all played a round robin of Fischer Random, also known as Chess960. And the final standings of this round of play serves as tiebreaker if players are level in points after the main events. And today's match is one of those insane games that only Chess960 can provide us. The Super Grandmaster Praggnanandhaa is playing with the black pieces against the American Grandmaster Sam Shankland. And since in Chess960 all pieces are put in random places, opening preparations that the players might have go out the window. They have to analyze the board on the spot and come up with a plan. In this starting position, we have these bishops here all lined up together, and that makes them a very powerful duo, and players will try to develop them as fast as possible. We cannot say the same about these knights here. It's usual for players to try to develop their knights first, but in this position, doing so can actually harm your development. Especially this guy here on the rim of the board. Very sad. On the other side of the board, we see all the heavy artillery cluttered together, and players will have a hard time getting those pieces in play, since you'll want to avoid pushing the pawns that are guarding your king. And the way the rooks are so close here to the king guarantees that we'll have an expansion first on the left side of the board before getting to the king side. Okay, so that is the read of the board. Let's see how these guys did it. Both players push their c-pawns, already opening for their bishops. Knight develops, attacking the c5 pawn, and Pragg defends with knight to e6. Notice how Pragg already has some hard time trying to defend that pawn. Pushing the d-pawn blocks his bishop, and pushing the b-pawn blocks his knight. E3 by Shankland, and that is already a mistake. I mean, you gotta love Chess960. It's move 3, and Fishy's already disagreeing with the Grandmaster. Apparently, Fishy here prefers to first develop his other knight, but I gotta be honest with you, I think that's pretty hard to believe, because after knight to b6, you're forced to push the d-pawn to defend, and you end up blocking your bishop. Okay, so knight b6, the queen defends, freeing up the d-pawn to be pushed to d4 later on, but Pragg strikes first. They exchange the pawns, and Sam develops his knight. Now, Pragg has to decide. He can either defend his knight or trade it, and he chooses to defend while developing his queen. It's Sam's time to strike at the center, d4, and Pragg takes a pawn. And just so you can see how strong Shankland is, he resists the temptation of capturing the pawn back. It might seem like a good idea at first, but then out of nowhere, bam, you're in a pickle. And defending his attack is no easy feat. Sam doesn't go down that road and instead trades the knights. But now Pragg's a pawn up, right? Not so fast. Sam pins that little guy to the queen, b6, and Pragg's idea is pretty clear. He wants to threaten mate on g2. Sam castles, and it's so funny how castling happens on Chess960. In this case, the rook just jumps over the king. Pragg continues with his mate ideas, and Sam pushes the f-pawn. This is a very clever defense move here. Attacks with the pawn and defends with the queen. Pragg brings his rook into the open file and Sam kicks the queen out and adds another attack on the d4 pawn. Castle, and one more nudge on the queen. And now Sam finally goes to capture that pawn and equals the material back. And now Pragg has to be very careful. He needs to go for the very much needed pawn to e6. Notice that if you do not do this, your queen is trapped. Sam doubles on the d file, and Pragg blocks it with his bishop, and then opens his rook on the f file. Sam defends the pawn with the bishop instead of opening up his king. Pragg pins the rook to the king, but Sam doesn't want to hear about it and pokes the queen. Now, Sam could have continued with queen harassment here, but for some reason decided to attack the rook and completely forgot that the rook that he attacked is also attacking the pawn that he was left behind. What? If that's not enough, he ignores that his rook is double attacked and goes to queen to h5. I mean, I get the idea. He wants to check on h7, but now it's not the time. You need to get your shit together first. Pragg finds the best move and now goes for the kill. Wait, what? He makes the same mistake that Sam just did, focusing on the attack and forgetting to look out for defensive moves. I get the idea. It's quite clever actually. The queen cannot be taken because of mate in the back rank, but he was completely winning the game and now Sam can force a draw by repetition. But Pragg doesn't want a draw. He's in for blood, and if he moves his king one more time, it is a draw. He has 23 seconds on the clock and he uses 20 of those 23 seconds to block with the pawn. Pragg was completely winning. In one move, he is now completely losing. Okay, you have 1 minute on the clock. Your opponent only has 8 seconds and he just blundered. What do? You wrap up the game, right? Right? Bishop takes g6. It's all lost. Pragg is winning again. What the duck is happening here? I mean, you look at this position and you think, there's certainly a mate here, right? But there isn't. The queen comes back and you can try to disconnect her from the king, but you can't. There is no mate. Sam should have gone with a check with the queen first, and this time the king can't come to g8 to hide, so you can disconnect the queen from him, and you win the queen. Now, Pragg is Pragg. He's a beast. If you're very, very lucky, you'll see him blunder once in a match, but definitely not twice. And he goes for the kill. A sequence of 7 perfect moves, and the game is over. What a crazy match. Here's the game review of this match, and we can clearly see Pragg's blunder that Sam missed to spot. Pragg not only won this game, but ensured to secure the leading position in this Chess960 round, ensuring that if he ties at the end of the tournament with another player, he'll get the best of it. Players are now playing the classical round-robin matches, and we'll make sure to give you an overall of what happened in this tournament at the end of it. I'm JonJon, signing out, and I'll see you next time. Triathlon. Ay, caray.